She didn't mean for him to find out this way. Yet there she was, standing just a few feet behind him in that crowded cafe, watching his fingers freeze over the magazine in his hands as he saw her face printed across the cover of Forbes. A billionaire, a woman openly searching for a senior husband, and the same woman he had rejected just 3 months earlier. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and how old are you? And let me ask you this. What would you do if the person you once dismissed turned out to be someone the whole world suddenly wanted? Would you run back, hide, pretend you never walked away? Or would you wonder if you'd just made the biggest mistake of your life? He blinked at the magazine like it might disappear if he stared long enough. His hand trembled slightly, just enough for her to notice, and she felt her heart twist. Not because she wanted revenge, not because she wanted him to suffer, but because she remembered the exact moment he told her she wasn't his type, that he wanted someone more established, someone who wouldn't drain his already complicated life. She remembered how small she felt walking away that night. And now, looking at him staring at the cover she never wanted him to see, she wondered if the universe had a strange sense of humor. His name was Grant. 65 years old, retired military officer, widower, a man who lived a simple life and guarded his emotions like they were state secrets. And she, Elena, was 62, quiet, warm-hearted, someone who had spent her entire life building companies while longing for something money could never buy. She never told him who she really was. She wanted to be seen as a woman, not a wallet. She wanted a chance at something real. But Grant couldn't see past his own fears back then, and she walked away without ever revealing the truth. Now, as she stood there, she wondered if approaching him would ruin everything. You ever feel that pull between wanting closure and wanting to stay invisible? That moment where your chest tightens and you tell yourself, "Don't do it. Don't make this harder." That was her right then, but life has a funny way of refusing to let you hide. Grant finally looked up, scanning the cafe like something inside him told him she was close. When his eyes met hers, it was like the air split. His mouth parted, confusion blending with something that looked almost like regret. He stepped closer. "Elena, is that really you?" His voice cracked just slightly, and she felt her breath catch. She didn't answer at first. She just smiled softly, trying to hide how fast her heart was beating. He held up the magazine like he needed proof she was real. "Why didn't you tell me?" he whispered. And she could only shake her head because how do you explain that you hid your entire identity because you were afraid of losing something that never even had a chance to begin? "You didn't ask," she finally said, and that made him flinch. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The cafe noises faded behind the heavy silence between them. Grant's shoulders sank as he stared at the cover again, at the headline calling her America's most eligible billionaire senior. He closed the magazine slowly, like it physically hurt him. "I didn't think I mattered enough to know more about you," he admitted, and that hit her harder than she expected. She stepped forward. "You mattered more than you think," she said softly. "That's why I didn't want my money to be the first thing you saw." He drew a breath as if steadying himself. "Is that why you disappeared?" She looked down for a second before nodding. "After the rejection, I didn't trust myself to face you without giving away more than I should." Grant rubbed the back of his neck, the guilt plain on his face. "I didn't reject you because you weren't good enough," he murmured. "I rejected you because you felt too good. I didn't think I had anything left to offer." That confession broke something open inside her. She felt her throat tighten, because this wasn't the explanation she expected. She thought he just didn't want her, plain and simple. But now she could see the truth etched in the wrinkles around his eyes, in the tremble of his voice. He wasn't pushing her away. He was protecting himself, or at least trying to. "I saw the article last night," he said quietly. "I read the part where you said you were ready to find a real partner, a senior man who valued honesty and kindness over status." He swallowed hard. I realized I walked away from exactly what I've been praying for. Her breath hitched. She didn't expect him to say that. He took another step, so close now that she could hear the shaky exhale he tried to hide. "Elena," he whispered, "did you ever want it to be me?" She felt her pulse race. This was the moment she had spent weeks telling herself she didn't need. The moment she told herself she'd moved past. But here it was, raw, trembling, impossible to ignore. She opened her mouth to answer, but before a single word came out, the cafe door swung open and a photographer rushed inside, calling her name. Cameras flashed, voices rose, people lifted their phones. Someone shouted, "Elena Wells! Are you really looking for a senior husband? Are you meeting someone today?" Grant's face fell as the crowd swarmed closer. Elena froze, her heart plunging. Reporters were circling her, shouting questions. Grant stepped back, eyes clouding, as if suddenly unsure whether he belonged anywhere near her. As if her world was too big, too loud, too overwhelming for a man like him. And then, he turned slightly away. Not completely, but just enough that she felt him slipping back into the shadows. Her chest tightened. She reached out. "Grant, wait!" But he hesitated, caught between two worlds, hers and the quiet life he knew. And in that split second, she saw the fear return. This is the moment where everything could change for them, or fall apart entirely. Grant didn't move at first. He just stood there, half turned away, shoulders tense, his breath shaky. Elena pushed through the cluster of reporters, ignoring the flashes and questions cutting through the air like knives. All she could see was the man who once made her feel seen without knowing a single thing about her wealth. When she finally reached him, she placed her hand on his arm. "Please don't walk away," she whispered, her voice trembling more than she wanted. "Not this time." He looked at her with a mix of longing and fear. "Elena, this isn't my world," he said softly. "These cameras, these headlines. I'm not built for this kind of attention." She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear her. "You're the first person I've met in years who looked at me like a human being. Not a bank account, not a title, just me. And if you think I would ever let cameras decide who I love, you don't know me at all." His eyes softened, but uncertainty still lingered. "I don't want to hold you back. You deserve someone who can stand in the spotlight with you." She shook her head. "I don't need someone to stand in the spotlight. I need someone who stands with me, quietly, honestly, faithfully." Before he could answer, a reporter shoved forward, shouting, "Sir, are you the senior man she's considering for marriage?" Grant stiffened instantly, and everything inside Elena clenched. He stepped back again, caught between panic and pride. You could see the war happening behind his eyes, one part wanting to run, another wanting to stay. And maybe you've been there too, torn between what feels safe and what feels right. Elena lifted her chin. "No comment," she said firmly, trying to shield him. But for Grant, the damage was already done. "This is exactly why I said no months ago," he murmured. "I didn't want my life turned upside down." Elena exhaled shakily. "Then let me fix it. Come with me. Just for a moment." He hesitated, then finally nodded. She led him out a side door into the alley behind the cafe, away from the noise. The cold air hit them, quieting everything except the pounding of their hearts. Grant leaned against the wall, rubbing his forehead. "You have no idea what it feels like," he said. "Losing my wife, rebuilding my life, trying to live quietly. I'm scared, Elena. I'm scared of loving someone who belongs to a world that terrifies me." She stepped in front of him, her voice gentle. "I don't belong to that world. I work in it. I survive in it. But I don't belong to it. I belong with people who make me feel grounded. People who remind me I'm more than a title." Tears slipped down her cheeks, surprising even her. "I don't want a senior husband because it sounds cute in a headline. I want a man who knows what commitment feels like. Someone mature enough to love without games. Someone who understands loss. Someone who understands depth. Grant's expression softened. He reached out and wiped the tear from her face with the back of his finger. "I thought you wanted someone wealthier, someone powerful," he whispered. "I couldn't imagine a woman like you choosing a man like me." She laughed softly, but it was a broken laugh. "Money can buy everything except the one thing I actually want, peace. And you gave me peace the day I met you. Do you really think I'd trade that for another executive with a big ego?" He looked down, breathing slowly as he processed her words. "Elena, if we try this, really try, everything will change." She nodded. "I know, but some changes are worth it. Aren't you tired of playing it safe?" He let out a long breath. "Yes, but I'm more tired of losing people." She touched his hand gently. "Then don't lose me." The alley stayed silent for a moment, holding its breath with them. Finally, he whispered, "What are you asking me, Elena?" She took his hand in both of hers. "I'm asking you to give us a real chance. No running, no hiding, just honesty. Let me show you who I really am beyond the Forbes cover. And let me know the man you've been protecting under all that fear." Grant didn't answer with words. He stepped forward and pulled her into his arms, holding her like someone who had been afraid to hope for too long. She closed her eyes, breathing in the warmth of a moment she thought she'd lost forever. When he finally pulled back, he cupped her face. "All right," he murmured. "We'll try, but slow and private and real." She smiled through her tears. "Slow, private, and real. I can live with that." But just as warmth filled her chest, her phone buzzed. A message from her executive assistant popped up on the screen. "The board wants to meet you tonight about the husband search announcement. They're worried about your image. They want you to pick someone appropriate." Her stomach dropped. Appropriate, meaning wealthy, meaning powerful, meaning not Grant. Grant noticed her expression shift. "Everything okay?" he asked, though his voice carried doubt. Elena swallowed hard. "It's fine. Just work." But he didn't buy it. "Elena, don't lie to me now," he said softly. She looked into his eyes, the man she wanted, the man who didn't come with a fortune or fame, but came with something far rarer: steadiness, honesty, heart. "They don't want me with someone like you," she finally admitted, her voice cracking. Grant's shoulders tightened, and for the first time she saw a flicker of hurt cross his face. "Then maybe that's a sign," he whispered. "Maybe I was right the first time. Maybe we're from two different worlds after all." She grabbed his hand desperately. "Grant, no, please, don't say that." But his eyes had shifted, softness replaced by fear, and fear replaced by doubt. "Elena, what if loving you costs you everything you've built? What if I make your life harder? Am I worth that?" Before she could answer, her phone buzzed again. This time with a message even worse than the last. "If you do not present a suitable partner by next week, the board will take control of your public narrative." Grant stared at the screen over her shoulder and stepped back. "Elena, I can't compete with a world like that." Her heart cracked open, and for the second time in her life, she watched him turn away. But this time, she wasn't willing to let him go. Not again. Not like this. She took a shaky breath, stepped toward him, and said the words that would change everything. "Grant, if I walked away from all of it, every dollar, every title, would you stay?" He froze, slowly turned, and she saw the exact moment his heart broke open, because now he was the one who didn't know what to do. If you were in his place, what would you choose? In that silent alley, everything hung by a thread, and the choice that would define their future waited in the space between their breaths. If you want to know how Elena and Grant's story ends, and whether love or fear wins, tell me to finish the ending.